Okay, I'm trying to figure out which flight school to go to, and I've narrowed it down to two: Blue Line Aviation or ATP. This video will specifically go over my experience with my Discovery flight, as well as my tour with Blue Line's facilities in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Ready?
Let me start off by saying that this video is specifically just a tour, my experiences of visiting Blue Line's facilities, as well as my experience with their Discovery flight. This video is geared more towards those who have already done their research and they're interested in what the location actually might be like. I wanted to make this video because there wasn't a lot of exposure for the location itself. I really wanted to get a good idea of what I was looking at, what does the facility look like, get a lay of the land essentially. Now, this next part I'm going to talk about myself, explain who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing, but if you want to skip that part, you can either refer to the timestamps that are in the description, or you can use the video tabs that are right here and go to the portion that you may be interested in. Okay, my name's Andy. The only experience I have with aircraft is I worked on KC-135 air refuelers in the Air Force for about 6 years. And then other than that, I actually do have flight time, but it's a whole 0.9 hours with Blue Line's Discovery flight, which, by the way, if you do a Discovery flight with a school or an admission flight with ATP, make sure you log that flight time. That is loggable flight time that you can use towards your flight hours, so you're welcome. I was specifically looking for flight schools that had zero to hero type programs where you can start from nothing, no experience at all, and receive all the hours that you need to be able to eventually fly for the airlines or whatever your intended career is in the aviation industry. If you're interested in Blue Line's career pilot program, I'll have the link to the program in the description below. At the time that I visited Blue Line, I was living in Orlando, Florida. This is why I am doing a Discovery flight in Raleigh and why I didn't for my ATP tour. I had to fly from Orlando to get to Raleigh to be able to visit the location, and while I was there, I wanted to go ahead and knock out everything I possibly could. One of those things was the Discovery flight, and I really wanted to make sure that I would enjoy the instructor experience, the aircraft experience, that whole deal. I talk about my Discovery flight at the end of this video, so keep an eye out for that part. Let me go ahead and forewarn you here. I'm going to go ahead and explain to you where Blue Line's location currently is, and I'll talk about this later, but Blue Line is moving. Not very far, but I will explain where they're moving and the whole what's happening with that move. So let me go ahead and show you where their current locations are. Both facilities are based in the central part of North Carolina in a city called Raleigh. They are all located northwest of Raleigh and just south of Cary. One facility is just south of RDU and the other is on location at the airport. Facility 1 is just south of the airport and is located in a business plaza. This facility is just about 3 miles away from their other facility. For this facility, this is where all their admins and schedulers are, as well as their classrooms and their simulator. As said before, both facilities are pretty close to each other and they are approximately a 10-minute drive in either direction. Now, this airport is a Class C airspace, but with my time there was constant talk about how that airport should actually be a Class B airspace with how busy it is. Facility 2 is their flight line facility, and this is located at the general aviation side of Raleigh-Durham International Airport. This is where you will do all of your pre-flights and briefings, and I'm sure it goes without saying, but this is also where they store, prep, and maintain all of their aircraft. Now, like I said before, Blue Line is moving. Not only are they moving, they're consolidating to one building, and this building is going to be theirs. It's a full-on state-of-the-art hangar facility that's going to have a restaurant on the rooftop. I mean, they're going all out with this move, and this move is to the Johnson County Regional Airport, which it's JNX for anybody that's looking for the airport code. Now, a huge thing when you're choosing flight school is weather, because obviously weather can constrict you from, flying. It's kind of important, because you need to be able to rack up the right flight hours, get all the experience that you need, the whole deal. Now, it's not as simple as just choosing, hey, just choose the school that has the best weather. The benefit that Blue Line has for being in Raleigh is that they experience all 4 seasons. For example, when I did my tour, I just, lucky me, showed up during the coldest week of this year in North Carolina. And I mean, it was cold. Especially for me, like a Florida boy, I was cold. But the beauty of it is you get to fly in all 4 seasons. So as a pilot, you're learning in all different kinds of environments to fly in. And I think that's essential for the foundation of when you're learning to become a pilot. So the con here is obviously that your flights can get canceled or delayed, preventing you from getting the flight hours that you need, right? But there's 2 things I want to bring up here. One, I talked with a student that went to ATP's Raleigh location there at Raleigh-Durham International Airport, and they went there during a winter. They said that sometimes the flights got canceled, but it really wasn't as much as you would think it would during, stormy situations. It's the beginning part when you're private license, when you can only fly in good weather, that's kind of a little iffy. But outside of that, after you get your IFR, I mean, you're flying constantly. That's not a problem there. Second instance, Blue Line is huge on this phrase, always on time and on budget. The students I talk to, the staff that I talk to, seems to be continuous. No matter what, even with delayed flights, these students are still coming out on the time that Blue Line is putting on the table, which as of right now, Blue Line's schooling is right around 5.5 months long. Okay, so let's talk about their two facilities. Let's start with the first facility, which is their training center. This is the building that is not a part of the Raleigh-Durham International Airport. Their training center is a part of an office plaza, and they have a portion of this building, as you can see highlighted here. This is where all their administrative staff is. This is where their schedulers are. This is where they have their classroom settings. And one of these rooms has their Redbird simulator. I'll talk about that more later when I start talking about their aircraft as well. So the facility itself was very modern, very clean. I was very impressed with it. They even, when I walked in, they had my name on a screen welcoming me. Anyways, all their classrooms are, well lit. They have modern equipment and everything. Like I said, everything was really clean. I'm a fan of blue. Shocker. They have a very blue interior. Now, look, normally I wouldn't talk about the break room. And I didn't in the ATP thing because, once again, it's just a break room. But I really need to point this out. Their break room has a slushy machine. Because, yeah... So they have a vending machine, they have the refrigerator, all your typical necessities that you would normally expect from a break room. And their break room is actually kind of nice. It was, like I said, it matches the rest of the building. So for the facility that's actually at the Raleigh-Durham International Airport. So Google Maps will take you directly to the correct building. You can literally listen to that. Where I got confused was a lot of the general aviation companies there, including Blue Line, don't have signage. So I didn't really know where to park or go at first. Heads up, by the way, if you're going to visit Blue Line and for some reason not schedule an appointment or something, this is not the building you go to. If you're going to visit them on a whim and not call them or prep or anything, you're going to go to the facility that's at 2200 Gateway Center Boulevard, Suite 208. Okay? Cool. Don't mess up and go to the flight line one. You'll be lost and you won't have anybody to talk to. It's not meant for you. Not yet. But if you end up doing your discovery flight with them, the way it was scheduled for me is when they knew I was coming, they scheduled my discovery flight first, and then I went to go tour. If the same setup happens for you, I'm going to show you exactly where to go. The first area that you're going to want to try to park in is this region here that I have highlighted. And just a heads up, you're going to have to pay for parking. I think it was $6 to park there. And then if that's completely full, you can use this parking location. And I think I paid right around $10 to park there. So keep that in mind if you're going to come to this location. So once you park, the way you get to Blue Line is you're looking for the building that has the signage for Signature. When you get in this industry, you're going to know who Signature is. They're a well-known company for doing maintenance and refueling on the flight line and charter services, the whole deal. So just look for a sign for Signature. And actually, you're going to be looking for this Signature sign here. You're going to go to the door that's directly under that. So you'll enter this door here. And then once you get inside, you're going to walk all the way to the back until on your right will be an admin desk, and you're going to essentially be in a lobby where you'll see a staircase. And you're going to walk up that staircase to get to the Blue Line offices. So when you first walk up this staircase, you'll see 2 of the 3 offices that Blue Line has there. The one at the far left is their dispatch office. The one that's just immediately to the right, that is their pre-flight office. This is where I went to go meet my instructor before we went on my discovery flight. And then a little bit ways down the hall, they have a 3rd office, which I think is like an extra room or it's specific to their instructors. I don't remember exactly what that room was used for. And weirdly enough, ATP is right there. They're literally, they have an office right next to theirs. So that's weird. In their pre-flight room, they have 3 separate cubicles essentially. And this is where you go to, check the maintenance records of your aircraft, go over, the briefing of your flight that you're about to do. Their pre-flight room is actually kind of cool because it's covered in pictures of a bunch of pilots who have received their ratings through Blue Line. A little vote of confidence there, unless they're all fake. So their flight line is huge, and this is because it's a huge general aviation facility, and so there's a bunch of little general aviation companies there. This area that I'm highlighting now, this is where they park their aircraft that are either tied down, ready to fly, or about to fly. One of these hangars over here is where they store their aircraft, or they hangar them, or they're performing maintenance on them. I had to bring up this irony. In the ATP tour video, I was talking about ATP's dominance with their fleet at the Tampa location and how you just saw a bunch of ATP aircraft around these other local flight schools. Blue Line clearly isn't taking that stance, because as you're looking out there, it was just Blue Line, Blue Line, Blue Line, Blue Line, Blue Line aircraft, and then ATP, Blue Line, Blue Line, Blue Line. It's like, damn, Blue Line. So Blue Line has a different kind of fleet from most flight schools. They're utilizing all Diamond aircraft. They do have a couple Cessnas, but they're getting rid of some of those. For the Diamond fleet, they have a bunch of DA-20s, some DA-40s, and they have a couple DA-42s, including a beautiful DA-42 that's in all blue. Yes. Yes. You know what? That deserves, it deserves sexy music. Anyways, so what I did find kind of interesting is some of these aircraft, I'm not sure which ones, but some of them come with air conditioning. That's a thing. I just assumed when I went through flight school that no matter what flight school you would go to, you would never have that option, that you were just going to either sweat or freeze your way through the entire flight process. I just didn't know air conditioning was a normal thing. Well, it's not a normal thing for general aviation aircraft, but it's an option with Blue Line's fleet, so that's a thing. And as I mentioned before, they have one Redbird simulator, and that's at their training facility. It's not stationary. It has the whole hydraulic system, like you're moving around, the whole deal. They also had the option of swapping out the layout of the buttons and the avionics that would be in front of you. I should have asked about this, but I'm pretty sure they had all that because you can swap out and be able to simulate in different kinds of aircraft. I'm pretty sure. But just in case I'm wrong, don't take my word for it, okay? Okay. So this part is really important when you're choosing a flight school, and that's the people, the faculty and the students. They will make or break your experience when it comes to going to a flight school. And Blue Line did nothing but impress. Their staff is so fun. It's like this energetic bunch of awesome people that are very easy to talk to. They're warming and welcoming. I had a great experience meeting them there. And I really want to notate this kind of special occurrence here. Their chief operating officer, his name is Lance, which, hold on. Let me stop you here for a second. This guy is a Coast Guard helicopter pilot. What? You don't ever meet these guys. They're like elusive creatures. You just know if they actually existed, that they're some of the most renowned helicopter pilots in the world. Now, the only caveat here is that the Coast Guard's not a real military branch. Just kidding. Jokes. Anyways, he set time aside right before a meeting. He really wanted to make sure he could meet me before I ended up leaving. He really wanted to talk with me and express his support for the company and his involvement on the career pilot program. He really drove home with me that if I ever had any questions that I could talk with him, which is pretty crazy to be able to talk to, the COO of a company. Speaking of which, because there's just all kinds of veterans operating on behind the scenes of Blue Line, Trey Walters, who is the owner of Blue Line, has reached out to me as well and told me that if I had any questions for him, that I could directly talk with him. That's amazing to get that much engagement from management, at least from that high up. So for the students, same concept as the students that I met at ATP. Supposedly it's a very overwhelming experience, but you at some point start getting the hang of it. Other than that, they all conveyed how happy they were going to this school. They seemed to really enjoy going to Blue Line. They all conveyed how impressed they were with the instructors and how they never felt rushed. They never felt like the instructors were just trying to rack up hours, but instead they were really there just trying to drive home, basic flight principles into them. Now, if you weren't able to see my ATP tour video, I wasn't able to talk to the Blue Line students about this one because all the Blue Line students that I talked with don't live in student housing. It's just kind of like a forewarning from my understanding of all the flight schools I researched, because I didn't just research Blue Line or ATP. It was the same thing I kept hearing all the time. The apartments are great, but it's the whole idea of having to room with another person that you don't get to choose can be kind of distracting, because there were horror stories about people playing video games late at night and keeping people up, the apartments being dirty, or everybody just being distracting in some way, shape, or form. Now, if you want to look into yourself, I went ahead and I did visit both of their student housing locations, and they're both nice apartments. One of the apartments is the Preserve at Briar Creek, and the other is the Crossings at Alexander Place. And both of these apartment complexes are right outside of Raleigh-Durham International Airport. And the final thing I want to talk to you about is my discovery flight. So the way this set up is I went and did my discovery flight first and then went through my tour. I showed up to their facility that's on the flight line. So I met with my instructor. His name was Alex. He's one of their senior instructors there. Amazing guy. He was insanely nice, very transparent, no salesy pitch or anything like that. He was very knowledgeable about Blue Line's fleet, and he went over all the different little details of what we're going to experience during my flight. Started out with him showing me maintenance logs and showing me that the aircraft is up to date. And he was always informing me of what's going to happen in the next step. So we went out to the plane. He walked me through the full pre-flight of checking all the exterior, checking all the systems, checking the interior, letting me know all the safety procedures, the whole deal. Giving you a good idea of what it's going to be like to be under an instructor from Blue Line. Just a heads up here, I don't have much footage about my flight, and that's because he wanted to make sure that I was paying attention, getting the full experience, and once again, we're in an environment that I need full self-awareness. He asked that I not film too much. He told me the areas that I could film, which would happen up in the air, but nothing on the ground. So we finally get to the part of taking off, and it's just a weird experience. The first time being in a small aircraft. Normally when you get on an airliner, it's just this, you can hear the engines running, it's slow, 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 and you slowly take off. And this, it feels like you just go, whoop. It feels like it just floats. It's so odd. But it was at this moment, we took off, right? We floated, whatever we did. He banked right, and when he banked right, whatever I felt at that moment, I was like, yes. I knew from that point that I wanted to be a pilot. It was just exhilarating, especially in that bubble canopy, which, to explain, that bubble canopy completely changed my perception of what it would be like to fly in a small aircraft. You have full 180-degree view of everything around you, and it's an amazing experience to just have that kind of view with no obstruction. He ended up taking me up there. He essentially guided me out of Raleigh's airspace. He handed over controls to me. He told me to, maintain a certain altitude and told me how to, bank right and bank left. Kept very simple maneuvers to get an idea of what I would be like as a pilot, but as well, I got to feel about how confident I would be taking instruction and being able to make these very basic maneuvers and not know anything about how to do that on an aircraft. And Alex made that very simple. He was a very good instructor. Diamond, the aircraft company, used to be a glider company, and at one point in their history, they decided to throw engines on these gliders. Why that matters is when Diamond aircraft land, they have a tendency to float, and it's a weird experience because it literally feels like you're just like there's a bubble under you. And but it was really cool to see Alex just confidently land through that. He clearly knew this aircraft through and through. After that, we landed and went back to the parking area, and that's where I met up with Tabor, who is their senior training advisor / recruiter, who took me off, and I did the tour of the facility. So let me wrap up here. Prior to visiting Blue Line, I was pretty dead set that I was going to go to ATP. After the tour, though, I was just insanely conflicted. Blue Line had such great energy, and the aircraft were amazing, and the people were so awesome and fun. So because of this conflict that it put me into, this made me had to really sit down, try to figure out what school I wanted to go to between Blue Line and ATP, which my next video is going to go over, which is where I go over Blue Line versus ATP, and I break down everything from the cost of schools to the speed of the programs, the quality of the aircraft and the people, all the nitty-gritty details that I wanted to have in front of me to make the best decision I could about what flight school I wanted to go to. Overall, I was very impressed with Blue Line. It was modern, it was kept clean, all the people were amazing and welcoming when I arrived. It was definitely an enjoyable experience visiting Blue Line, and I'm glad I did to make sure that I really knew what I was comparing. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my ATP tour video. That's for their Tampa location. And keep an eye out for my ATP versus Blue Line video. If you have any questions for me, you can comment on the video below, or you can message me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there. My handle's right here, at AndyPateVlogs. As well, I do these weekly live videos on Instagram, usually always on Sundays. It's called Fluffernutter Live, because I want it to be called that. And you can just watch and find out why it's called that. But on there, you can go ahead and ask me questions and I can answer them live, or I even put up a post before the live video where you can ask me questions and I'll answer them in that live video. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. My ears are really hot, I don't know why. But, love your face, hope you enjoyed this tour, and yeah. Okay, bye.